Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first of our series of E-Meet Your Architecture School done by dqlabs. Really happy to start off this session for 2022, where you get to interact with the top managements of each of the architecture schools, the good ones, the good architecture schools. You keep your options open, keep your minds open, understand what each school is providing for you, and get the best options for yourself. Um, Remember, when you get into an architecture school, your future is going to be shaped by the school. So it's very important to understand who is responsible for shaping your future. And that's one of the reasons why we've done quite a few of the presentations. So if you missed one of our previous webinars, which is the 2022 Architecture CT and COVID-K process, please watch this webinar on our YouTube channel. There is a presentation link which I'm going to share with you as well. If you click on that presentation link, which you will see this presentation deck that I'm showing you right now, it has the links to the webinars that I am doing, including this one. So in case you missed this, you can go on to our YouTube channel and start off with your, you can watch it at a later stage at your convenience. All right. But before we get into today's session, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Anita Sushilin, who is going to be doing this talk on Christ University School of Architecture. So a little background to her before we start off. So Dr. Sushilin is an architect and worked in the urban design studies as well. She heads the school at Christ University, the architecture school, and she's the HOD out there. She's got a brilliant profile, which I'm sure she's going to talk you through. I would prefer if she talks you through that as well. But in short, she has also done her her PhD at the prestigious CEPT University, which is in Ahmedabad. So, Dr. Sushilin, I would let you introduce yourself in a little more detail because I would prefer that you structure your introduction better than what I would do. So please do that, and then you can take it ahead from there.
Thank you, Dion, and thank you, DQ Labs, for this wonderful session. Good evening, all students, all boys and girls, and also I cordially invite all the parents of the students. I'm told even parents might be attending this session. So a warm welcome to School of Architecture, Christ Intebe University, and myself, Dr. Anita. I'm heading School of Architecture. And I have a keen interest in urban design, and especially I focus on water and urbanism. And with a PhD, as Dion has already mentioned, with a PhD and Masters also from CEPT University, and my BArch is from CET Trivandrum, Kerala University. It has been a great journey in architecture, and I think it is an amazing career and a profession to pursue, both as a woman, one I must say that, and also for the kind of career opportunities that architecture has opened up for BA graduates and also with masters and PhD further on. I think currently you are a very young group of students who are very keenly attending this session as to know what our school offers, and as rightly Dion has mentioned, one has to be very careful while we are selecting the school because it's a kind of a 5-year journey in BIAC where the school is in fact molding you to become a professional. So it's very important what kind of school, what their questions are, because a school is not hinged just to kind of deliver teaching, learning lessons. and studio exercises. It's much beyond it because the school stands for certain values, certain questions, all of which I'll take you through in next 20 to 25 minutes. But I think the career in teaching, especially in academia, in architecture, has been a fascinating journey. Also, I'm a practicing architect and I was in freelancing for quite some time. Also worked with Zakri and Consultants, Sunil Kumar Architects, who is from SOM Skidmore, Owings and Merrill in the US. So he's from there, and it was a fascinating experience working and getting trained within these realms. Beyond that, I had this great opportunity to be at CEPT University, wherein actually I developed much keener interest in academia because it's a very younger group of students with whom we are working with, and I think with the over 26 years of experience in this realm, quite a bit has been gathered, and earlier for over 20 years I was with School of Architecture at RV College of Architecture. Further to which, Christ was offering a great opportunity with a lot of internal freedom to kind of speculate and to experiment pedagogical methods and thereby kind of bring out graduates of a difference. So this was a great opportunity and great career change in my journey. So with that brief note, I would like to get on with the presentation. So shall I go ahead with that, Dion? What do you
Yes,
say?
madam. Yes, thanks so much. There was a very interesting background to you.
Okay. So I think architecture doesn't. So before I start, one thing I must confess here is that BARC is a beginning to a big journey in your career. For to say that the kind of travel that one may do it, the kind of people that you may interact, the kind of realms, the working realm that we have while we are working both at the industry and in academia, or be it in research or consultancy, and also in many of these research forums where we interchange. Had the opportunity to visit Catholic University, Belgium, York University, Canada. So many of these opportunities clearly showed a very impressive and very appealing kind of career opportunity in architecture. So with that note, let us see and take a journey through School of Architecture's the curriculum pattern, the beliefs that we hold, the kind of graduates that we are evolving out of the school, and also further to which the admission process and the kind of choice that it offers to the student when you join the school. Okay. Is it good, Dion?
Yes, madam. It's visible. You can go ahead.
It's in the presentation mode, right?
Yes, it is.
Yes. So, with that brief introduction, let us take a short journey through School of Architecture Christ. This particular today's event, I must thank a big thank you to dqlabs for having given us this opportunity to get in touch with all of you students and also the parents along with it. Okay, so the School of Architecture, here we have a very impressive and a very interesting different routine that we follow here at school. While you are being groomed as a graduate or as a BARC graduate at the end of fifth year. So, as I mentioned earlier, actually, a school has very strong belief, and it is deeply rooted in certain values that we hold for ourselves. So, the School of Architecture at Christ University, stemming from a deep respect for art, architecture, and technology, human values and environment, society, culture, and symbols. And finally, to put it in brief, the research, innovation, and service. So I think these are the few very deeper values that we hold for the school, and further to which the School of Architecture raises certain questions while we are crafting our pedagogical methods, the vision, mission statement, the whole routine of how we kind of groom our students. The first question that we ask is, do we pay attention to understand natural phenomenon? Because it's very important as an architect, we need to be very conscious about the environment that we build, the kind of people with whom we are working along with it, the various different technology and processes. So how well can we acquaint you with that? So the first questions the school asked when we were putting our curriculum together is, do we pay attention to understand natural phenomena? Do we allow for shifts in weather and seasonal festivals? Because it's very important to understand these basic cultural context that where we are building, and also the environmental context. Do we remain sustainable and contemporary with respect to the technological advancement? Do we truly believe in appropriateness of material and technology in architecture, that we may have the purchase power to reach out to any material and any technology, but are we doing the appropriate choices? So these are few of the questions that we ask. Do we attempt to help the rural reconstruction? It is one of our mission statements, being within the ecosystem of Christ. You, the student over here, get an immense opportunity to actually go out and build. So it's not that your learning processes are confined only to the four walls of the studio or the classroom, but we reach out to kind of varied kind of questions. The next thing one must very keenly pay attention to is, does the school offer aesthetical skill development, and do we emphasize on this in education? Do we believe in experiential learning? So we have a very different sort of pedagogical methods where the studio travels, and we call it the studio on wheels. Invariably, all batches we travel, we work with the people and the environment for a week or so, and then we come back with very critical questions which are kind of framed into a design brief within the studios. It's not that the teacher is crafting a studio brief and giving it to the student, but the student along with the teachers, we travel and we be part of it. So one of the instances of our travel is what you are watching right now. Further to which, do we attempt to rethink urban processes? So this is at a higher level studio where we really look at urban processes which are very complex in terms of its understanding, and the kind of design skill one may require to attempt all of this are very different. So the school is asking many of these questions, and hence we have stated our vision statement, which is dedicating ourselves to certain things and also offering excellence and rigor to nurture individuals of a particular kind. So what is that? School of Architecture Christ is dedicated to an architectural education through excellence and rigor in learning, research, and community engagement. All three things we give very true emphasis while you are at school, and to nurture you as what? Individuals to become ethical professionals, creative designers, and responsible citizens. So it's a tall task in terms of a vision statement. And how do we achieve this? For that, we need to believe in certain things, and we need to nurture certain things, and also we should be committed to certain things. So that states our mission. What do we believe in? We believe in a responsible design thinking that is deeply sensitive to ecology, cultural diversity, and social equity. It means a lot for us when we talk about ecology and the diversity of cultural context that we are working with, especially in India and elsewhere as well, and also social equity, because it is several times the impact can be very unfair and it cannot be equitable to all societal groups. So we address that. Architectural education at our school will nurture definitely the inquisitiveness within the student. There is a self within you, each one of you students. So we really look at that to get nurtured while you are at school in the 5 years. It's not that you are all put under a similar set of goals and outcomes, so that what we are getting out of at the end of fifth year is set of people who are like similar, but it isn't. Actually, we really nurture the self within you and give you the space for a creative inquiry and critical thinking. towards the built environment and its related natural and cultural settings. What is our commitment? The school commits itself to an integrated education. Integration means it integrates art, it integrates science, history, and technical skills. All of this, each one of this is quite important to become or to get informed as a good, sensitive architect. And all this is done for a sensitive, inclusive, and collaborative practice in the discipline of architecture. So these are certain very conscious statements which we have crafted after several deliberations with some of our key people who are working along with us. So Christ University is a deemed to be university. So we have an autonomy in crafting the syllabus and the curriculum for the school under the UGC Act. And but this doesn't mean that we are not being reviewed. Yes, we have some of the best people in the nation available to kind of review our syllabus and also the curriculum that we hold for ourselves. So the first year, the first 5 years, we had Professor Nilkan Chaya, the director of School of Architecture, CEPT University, and further to which we had from the industry also we have an expert, Professor Prem Chandavarkar, architect, who is leading one of the acclaimed firms, CNT in Bangalore. So they both were the expert advisors, and actually every year we have a total review as to what we are doing, where we are heading to, who is our graduate, what kind of pedagogical methods are we adopting. If the vision and the mission statements are these, how do we kind of move ahead with this? How do we evaluate ourselves? How do we impart? What are the ways and means by which we are going to teach the student to at the end of fifth year, you are a graduate, a BR graduate. Are you going to walk out with just a BR degree, or are you the next leader in the discipline? So I will come to some of the instances as well at the end of this journey. So here is a short journey, and these are the major milestones. So just to kind of acquaint you with the school. So we have the BR program, MArch program, and also the PhD program. So the school has quite an established position already set in. And the years 2021 to currently, we had enormous achievements in terms of international collaborations. So we have a long-term MOU with Boston Architectural College, USA, which is for both student and faculty exchange. So we are actually, in fact, crafting one of our urban design programs to kind of share it and to have a collaborative studio. So beyond this, we also have international and national collaborative studios. Thereby, a student who is in fact studying at School of Architecture Christ is not confined only to the 40 or 80 students we are inducting, but you are actually interacting with many other students from some of the premier schools nationally as well as internationally, and for which these kind of collaborative studios are very important. So we had recently concluded the Martin Fissett's studio, who is an architect based in Canada. So beyond which, building sciences, some of the theoretical subjects are also kind of taken through an annual competition project. So it's a very interesting, different way we approach even sciences. Solar Decathlon in collaboration with IIHS, that is Indian Institute of Human Settlements, and also the Alliance for Energy Efficient Economy in India, and also the Indo-US Science and Technology Forum. So it's a consortium with whom we had an MOU, and we had entered into this competition, and we are very glad to inform you that some of our student projects has been accepted at the final phase. And beyond that, we also have international or interdisciplinary webinars as well. Beyond this, I must also say that when you select a school, it is not that it is confined only to the BR educational programs. You must see who your teacher is and the kind of research projects, the consultancy project. As a school, though we are confined to academia, doesn't mean that we are not part of the professional realm. We are in fact designing buildings, we are constructing it as well. We have funded projects and also research project. So here at School of Architecture Christ, you see teachers not only limited to academia, they are actually part of larger research projects. They are also consultants. So you are getting an opportunity to work along with us. So some of the two very prestigious funded projects projects which I must inform you about is the composite bamboo construction project, which we recently completed. And the Council of Architecture has selected as amongst from the 79 entries which have come nationally, School of Architecture Christ was selected for one of the research projects, which is a 2-year long research project, and which we are currently working upon. So it's very important for you to understand within the school, beyond curriculum, what are the other things to which I can get engaged with. That should be your question when you are selecting the school. So the place, it's a great, amazing opportunity, both culturally, the technical and the kind of infrastructure that we have set in place for the students are very different. Now the people, as I've already mentioned, Professor Neelkanth Chaya and architect Prem Chandavarkar, both of them are there at the Board of Studies meeting. So further to which we have further people from SEPT University, we have Dr. Durganand Balsavar, Dr. K.T. Devendran, and also Dr. Srivatsan at our as our the latest experts in place to review the kind of curriculum and also the pedagogical methods and also the outreach projects that we do. So outreach project, when I talk about it, this is something very unique and of its own kind nationally. I think in India, very few schools go out and do or kind of build projects, and very different pedagogical method that we adopt for these kind of projects. So I will take you through a little journey as to the outreach projects that we have done. And as I've already mentioned, Studio on Wheels, we travel a lot. So both the faculty and the students, we travel a lot with various questions, come back with questions, and the design briefs are set for that. Making is a very important aspect of School of Architecture Christ. We work with a lot of materials, right from paper to bamboo to mud to bricks to steel and also glass. So these are various different kind of materials that one may engage with. So it's very important for you to be very skilled in terms of what can I do, how can I work with material, and what are the labs and other facilities which are available within the school. Beyond which, definitely all of you must be very familiar with the allied area called the art and performing arts, which are very strong at School of Architecture Christ. So here is our new building, which is over 1.4 lakh square feet. So it's much beyond what Council of Architecture proposes or mandate for a School of Architecture. So that itself, this itself shows that how much we kind of work for kind of the graduate and the kind of infrastructure that is in place for School of Architecture. So on just to kind of acquaint you, this is a barrier-free building, and further to which I must add that we have a consultancy cell which is called the Design Cell of School of Architecture, and this project has been completely designed and executed by the school. So, and I had the opportunity to lead the design team. So this is one of its kind where the school, so the academician with whom you are studying and working are also practicing as well. So that is the kind of architecture and the contemporariness that we bring to the academia as well as at the work that you see at School of Architecture. So this is a barrier-free building. That means even for physically challenged, it can be easily accessible. So all our students who are standing at the ramp is the main ramp, which is an access way to the building. And onto your left, you can see the building, which is in glass, which is our state-of-art labs, which are facilitated for the AR/VR facilities. So we have some of very unique electives which are floated, which are of the time, because it's very important what kind of electives are offered at school, because these are something beyond the core courses and the elective, the lab courses. We have something called the elective courses. All schools might be having that, but the electives is where we bring in the contemporariness. So we have the augmented reality and virtual reality in architectural studies. That is one of the electives. Recently, we are currently conducting the UI UX, that is the user interface experience, how do we do that, and how does an architect learn this? So these are some of the unique latest electives, much beyond what we already offer. Workshops, exhibition spaces, conference halls, cafes. For all of this, when we actually dream for a higher goal, we should also have the facilities which are catering to this. So onto your left is the labs, which is a close-up view of the crystal block, and onto your right is the overall view of the School of Architecture building within the Kengeri campus. Now, under various best practices, we've been noted for the Christ Rural Studio, which you will experience if you are joining us. You will experience it at the fourth semester, that is end of second year. That's when we do the outreach project. The students go out and build. So it's not that our designs are confined only to the walls of the studio and it is limited only within a paper. But no, we go out and build, and this is a facility for the social cause. And for which we actually sign up MOUs with the industry. We have structural engineers, Mr. B.L. Manjunath was part along with you working in the studio. So the teachers who are teaching you at the studio are not confined only to the permanent teachers, but also we have experts gathered from the industry. We have structural engineers who are working along with us, because it's a project which is going out and getting built. And beyond all of this, the funding for this, so the student is not being fascinated only by the form making and the designing exercise, but also being very, very curious to know how does funding works in architectural project. How do you kind of embellish all this so that at the end of the day, we are getting an opportunity to build. So parallelly, there are two things which are running now from here onwards. There are two sets of slides which are running parallel. On to your right, you will keep seeing the Studio on Wheels, which is the travel program which we have. These are the number of studios which has traveled to Goa, then to Cochin Biennale, and many such. Padmanabhapuram Palace, Suligiri, the tribal village. Many of these places we do travel and we come back, as I mentioned it already above this. Now, the Christ Rural Studio is actually one of our unique best practices, and the studio of its kind is very rarely available. So we had several opportunities which is reviewed internationally for the project outcome, that is the production that the student has done. So we had an entry to the international competition, which is called the Lafarge Holcim Award Competition for Sustainable Construction. So you won't believe it, amongst the acclaimed firms, including Doshi's firm, we were the only institution which has accomplished a real life project which is built, and we had the opportunity to enter into an international competition and also an international exhibition, that is London Design Biennale 2021. Just last year it got exhibited. So the Rural Studio went out to kind of put together its work to the public domain and to get reviewed for its comments for the kind of pedagogy that we have set for ourselves and the kind of exploration that the students are getting as part of this graduate program or undergraduate program, I must say. So these are two instances. So the outreach project one, which was a pedestrian bridge which was constructed at Wayanad, and the earlier bridge got washed away in the floods, 2018 floods. So this bridge was constructed by the students. So right from design to construction happened at site. So it was a great experience, and you will never believe it. This is our first batch students who are actually at work. And to the left hand side, you are seeing the second outreach project, that is the Snake Venom Treatment Center, which we had done it for a social cause, which was funded by Christ Center for Research Projects Group. And beyond this, for doing this, we had a collaboration with industry, MOU with Uravo Ecolinks based in Wayanad, because to procure materials and to kind of take up the construction, because the construction is altogether a different process. So the student is getting to know many of these facets. Imagine it's happening at the end of second year. And let me tell you, some of our alumni who are standing there actually are entrepreneurs. They have started their own office. That's the kind of confidence they built while they are going through this experience. Then beyond this, being in academia, we have research papers published based on this particular experience and the kind of unique joinery and clustering technique that we have innovated in this whole process. And all of which is actually culminating with a huge value addition to a unique identity to the curriculum, especially for the undergrad program that we are offering. On to the other side, it's about the studio on wheels. So the studio on wheels doesn't mean that we are going there just to watch something. No, we are actually in this particular exercise, the set of pictures you are seeing onto your right hand side, the students are engaged with mud construction. So that is tonight, one group of students are traveling to Pondicherry, and at Auroville, they are going to explore this year's mud construction principles. So the school is offering many of these opportunities and skill set, imparting the skill set in the process of Studio on Wheels. Now again back to our Rodel studio. This is the views and some of the glimpses or the visuals about the construction that we had done at Mysore suburban region, Hallikirihulli. Now beyond this, now you must be wondering, how do I get admission to school? It's a very simple process. You can actually get on to our website, make an online application at Christ University, and once the application is done, because invariably everyone, all students go through this process, and immediately you'll get a call for a personal interview and for a micro presentation online. So what are the basic things that one may require? 10 plus 2 or 10 plus 3, a pass in both or in either of this, which is as a qualifying exam. And definitely we acknowledge and respect the mandate from Council of Architecture, NATA or JE, both are accepted, a qualified aptitude test score. But both of this is not sufficient. You will be appearing for this personal interview, online interview, and at that time you will have an interaction with your teacher. So all the 80 students whom we are inducting, both the teachers and the students know each other. It's not a big surprise when you come to school that, yes, I've never met my teacher. No, it is at the interview process we get to know each other, and also three best sketches and three best achievements also we request, because some of the students with excellent achievements in sports, in performing arts, in public speaking, because the kind of group with whom you are sitting and studying, all 80 have excellent skill set in varied realms of allied areas. It's not that our aptitude is only based on the NATA and GE. And further to which you can contact me at this email ID, and also you can reach out to this phone number if you have any queries. Further to which I will share with you the SOS brochure, where you get an opportunity to meet all the teachers and our background, which will give you a short glimpse of with whom are you going to study with or work with, and eventually even training. So the eligibility as council mandates, I've already mentioned, there should be a NATA or JE as a aptitude test clearance and a qualifying exam that one may have to complete. Now, I think before I wind up, I just take you through this creative process of architecture, because it's an exciting career. And I'm really kind of, even after 26 years in this career journey, I'm still kind of amused by the opportunity architecture has offered or is being offered. And especially working with younger students like you, I think it is giving an amazing opportunity. So this is a creative process where design and research, as well as building construction, goes hand in hand, and it's a great experience. So what are you students going to do from high school to college and finally to an internship and to a career? So how do we kind of navigate? What are the basic skill set you may require? Now, also, an architect is somebody who is trained to take a sketch and see the big picture. And that's how you are trained at School of Architecture, Christ. And also, definitely, at the end of turn of fifth year, it's a great earning while working in a rather comfortable condition. Unlike many other professionals where the working conditions are very different, we work in rather comfortable conditions and very exciting opportunities that the career offers. So from high school, formal education is very important. Experience will be determining factor in obtaining high-end position. So your experience in architecture is quite important. So a very early start, that is immediately after your 12th standard, is what is always suggested to join for architecture, and it is a 5-year program. And university level courses include English, history, mathematics. So these are some of the key kind of skill set that one may require. And also you may require proficiency in physics, creativity, and good leadership quality. So these are also quite advisable and advantageous while you are opting for architecture. So, trained to take a sketch to see the big picture. What I meant is that we are researchers, we plan, and also we design, and we are also true good administrators. So, at various different levels in your career journey, I think you are going to experience many of these things. And an architect's job is both challenging as well as it is very complex, because we are trained to transform a building into a work of art. So, a building is not just a functional building, it is a kind of a piece of art itself. So how do we kind of reach at it? What are the processes to it? What are the kind of skill set that the student may require, or which gets groomed and nurtured at school? Is something which is very important to understand. Collaborative work style is something which you learn while you are at School of Architecture, Christ. And excitement to experiment, because this is something which you often see within the school. A determination, resilience, and optimism, because these soft skills are definitely required when you are pursuing architectural courses. Then a great earning while working in rather comfortable conditions. When I mentioned it means that many times we find that our work environment are quite ambiguous. We travel a lot. We sit on brainstorm sessions in discussions. Unlike typically in many other professions, it's a very different, constant, static work environment. We have a very flexible work environment. And for us to perform in such work environments, we should have a kind of a team-oriented and highly collaborative mindset. A certain mindset is something which is groomed while you are at school. The good communication skills which are groomed within school. And the language proficiency in English is quite important wherever you might be after the program, I mean, after you complete BARC. And also the proper professional licensing and entrepreneurial skills that may be required will be groomed at school. And also a bachelor or a master's degree in architecture is something which we always tell you, I mean, tell the students and orient you with through a placement cell and the training, I mean, the professional training cell that we have at school. So beyond this, it's very important for us to have a great software proficiency. So some of because this is how we select a school. What are the kind of core skills, the rendering skills, the additional proficiency skills that are rendered at school, the ability to learn new project management and communication plan software. So it goes much beyond drawing and developing drawings and construction drawings. It's much more than that. You should be able to kind of stand in front of your client and should be very confident. So software proficiency is something which we really focus upon in many of our uh, elective courses especially. And also the architecture in our site also, the many of these apps which we are using have completely transformed our work environment. These are some of the apps which we are using, just to kind of name a few. And definitely you will have a greater proficiency in modeling, rendering, organizing, producing drawings, developing construction details, working collaboratively, managing time. So beyond that, before I close it, let me just tell you that it's a myth always we have that architecture ends with the practice, but no, it is much more than that. Architect researcher, architect academia, allied areas are greater possibilities. So BARC is a beginning to a big journey in your life. So before I close, I think I wish to take you through our, just a moment. Is it visible, Dion?
Yes,
Dion?
yes, it is. Yes, it
Yes.
is.
So this is a quick flip book, which we will now just browse through it. This is one of our atriums within the school. And here, the Christ University, we are ranked within first 100 Best Universities Award this year's NIRF ranking. And further to which, I've already spoken about the vision and mission statement of School of Architecture and the kind of subtle ways in which we craft or groom the students at School of Architecture. Then we have the bachelor's and the master's program in architecture, and further to which the studio on wheels and the rural studio I've already explained. And here are your group of teachers who are going to work along with you. On top is myself, and further to which we have some of the senior professors who are working with more than 20-25 years of experience. And it's very important, they are both practitioners and also full-time academicians. Professor Shankar Hosakare, the Vijay Nannapati, who is actually leading Maya Praxis, which is a firm outside. Dr. Uma Jadhav, Dr. Ajay Chandran, he's already on board in this particular talk. Then Dr. Priya Joseph, who is actually more expertise in materiality and architecture thinking. Then Dr. Jayaprakash Churchin in urban planning, Dr. Shiva with his expertise in especially in the soft skills, I mean software skills and also building performance studies. Professor Betty Sharad with Masters in Architecture, Professor Briddhi, then Professor Jyoti Gupta, both of them with expertise in architecture per se, and Professor Anay Anand with in urban planning, Professor Nimisha with masters from CEPT University in architecture and product design, and for Nitika Tovi again building performance studies. So because when we induct the teacher itself, so we take a lot of care how many of these courses are handled and what is the kind of network that they have, and as a consultant or as a researcher how well they are able to work with us. So Professor Chandan is our artist in-house, and then we have Professor Richard Manoharan, then Professor Shainu. Shainu was very instrumental in some of our design projects have been patented. So our graduating batch, the alumnus, goes out not with just a BIAC degree. So 3 of them have patents to their credit, 3 have started their own entrepreneurships or newer firms. Then we have Shyam Gandhi with Masters from Catholic University, Belgium. We have Albert from SPA Bhopal, in fact, SPA Vijayawada, and further to which Professor Satyanarayana, with over 19 years of experience from the industry, has joined academia. Professor Kirti Patnaik with a design background, and Professor Ranjita with architecture masters. Professor Janardhan Rao has extremely skilled in terms of freehand sketching, and he's an architect with a great joy of working with students. Professor Elsa with urban planning, but immense talent and work on design communication. You know, that's where she's currently pursuing her PhD on. Then Professor Gayatri with water and urbanism, Professor Mithun with building performance studies, Professor Abhinaya again from building performance studies. Now, further to which we have 3 more new teachers, and also we have an international teacher who has just joined us from US. So, which is not included in this brochure. So, she has just joined today the school. So she's from US. And also a Russian by origin, Katia Mawson. So she has joined us. So that's the kind of realm of teachers with whom you're going to work with. So on to your left, what you're seeing is the various material workshops that we hold, and these are a small snippet of the guest speakers who come to school, and from varied realms and media, and right from art to architecture to filmmaking to urban planning to interior design to landscape architecture, and also actors, you know, because we have a wonderful student club where your cultural life is also looked after at school. So with that, I close it, and I think that's the curriculum structure, course structure that we have in place. So with that, I close it. So beyond that, I wish to talk about only a few things on just a moment, I'm coming back. Yes, just a few things for the hostel facilities and other facilities at the campus level. So we have both girls and boys hostels available within the campus, beyond which we have wonderful cafes and which work for the main meal times, that is the breakfast, lunch and dinner. But beyond which we have satellite cafes which offer you a variety of opportunities. Then we have a variety of auditoriums and seminar halls, which are the other, beautiful instance that I must talk about when we are part of a larger campus shared along with engineering and technology. But the building which you have seen is uniquely for architecture and School of Architectural Studies. Yes. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity, Dion. And thank you, students, for your patient listening. I'm open for any questions if you have any.
Thanks a lot, madam. Very, very interesting because I think you went through the entire gamut, meaning from right from your vision to the projects to the outreach to the infrastructure, and all of this was pretty well covered in your presentation. One of the things that struck me really is architecture at Christ is not just about the buildings, but it's really about the inclusiveness, about the entire communities that you're working towards, and that's a very comprehensive, very different approach that y'all are taking. That I found quite interesting. Um, how does that really shape a student, on someone who's considering joining? So how does that shape their personality?
Yes, I think that's a very interesting question. I must thank the university for having given us this ecosystem to develop these outreach projects because I am coming with over 20 years of experience in working in other institutions where I see many a times we struggle to find the real needy person. But here we have a Center for Social Action where we collaborate with them to identify the correct user group. So, but I must say that this is not the only thing that they study. This is one of the things that they study at School of Architecture. They are also kind of engaging with some of the global timely questions which they are inquiring at the Urban Studio. Right now, we have the visiting faculty inducted from RSP Architects. So, with whom the student is going to work on a high-rise building and advanced urban infrastructure which is to be put in place as part of that studio requirement. So it's kind of meets up varied kind of requirements that a BR graduate should be having it. But I think working in rural studio has immensely given them a very strong will to work for society, a value to kind of, as an ethics, as a professional ethics, what do I do for this? So these are some of the value bases which are strongly built as foundation for these students who eventually graduate from our school. So I think it's the ecosystem that has offered us this kind of opportunity. I can say that it's not that we are the only school which is doing it. The other school which I can cite is not here. It's in US, University of Auburn, which offers a similar rural studio for the Latin American, South American countries. The North America works for it. So this is one of the schools which is accredited internationally for its local relevance, how much you work, outreach yourself to kind of work for the community. And I must acknowledge Samuel Mockabee for having floated this wonderful international program. So there are uniqueness of similar kind elsewhere, internationally available. So a student trained in such a context is going to be so relevant when he or she is traveling to other places or be in India for that matter, planning to practice and settling down here. So it's kind of grooming them in various dimensions. So that's my answer to that question. I hope I've answered.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I like the fact that the faculty as well, that you showcase have not only the Indian experience but the international experience as well. Um, how do you see an international faculty giving a different context to the students here, right? Because sometimes these international faculty just come for like doing a workshop or something, one or two workshops. But here they seem to be there for a longer period of time, right?
Yes.
So how does that shape a student?
Actually, it's because architectural education comprises of various experiential instances that the student may build over 5 years. So, this particular Katia Mawson, who has joined today, she's joined for a full as a full-time faculty with us. So it's going to be an immense experience. So I will cite from our earlier experience. We had from Utah State University, Kalin Lavoy. She's a landscape architect who had worked with us. So it was an amazing experience in terms right from representations to the kind of collaborative thinking and also design solutions. The entire design process, how they tackle is quite different from how typically pedagogical methods we adopt in India. So this is going to give an edge to the student who is studying within various of these possibilities. So beyond this, you won't believe it. You will see the other extreme also. We have an Italian, Chiara Chioduro, who is actually having a master's and undergraduation from University of Torino, Italy. So she's an adjunct faculty, visiting faculty, who is part of a very key person in Rural Studio. That is her appreciation and participation with India. She has worked for long years for documenting Bhuj, the earthquake-prone areas of Western India, and also further to which she is trained with Laurie Baker's Cosford. So that's the kind of faculty team that the student may get to see and meet and work along when they are at School of Architecture Christ. And I must thank that, because of the Christ University, they are able to bring in this kind of variety and diversity into the school in that aspect. Yes.
Right. Interesting. I see Dr. Ajay Chandra here as well. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Dayan sir. Good to see you after a long time.
Yes, yes, yes. Very, very nice to have you here as part of Christ University. And lovely to be interacting with Dr. Anita Sushilin again, and nice to see you here. So you recently joined. I know you were at another university earlier, and now you've joined Christ University. When I spoke with you about your experience here, you were very impressed, and you of course invited me to see that infrastructure there as well, and I thought that was something I should come and see sometime. But from Dr. Anita's presentation, it looked beautiful. Um, so what is the change? I mean, what is the difference you're seeing in a new university like Christ? Yeah.
Very interesting question. I will sum it up quickly. I was part of VTU, heading schools of architecture, heading engineering college. When I moved to Christ, first aspect is I'm an alumni of Christ. I studied with Christ University's schooling, that is Christ Nagar English Medium High School in Thiruvananthapuram. It backs most of the ranks at CBSE, and it is well placed as one of the best schools in Kerala for academics is concerned. They have state syllabus, CBSE, and international syllabus. So that is the background. When I chose to move away from a VTU government university, I looked at various options, but Christ University was the first option, mainly because I know that they are a dedicated lot, I being an alumni. Second aspect, I know Dr. Anita for a long time. What she has done is getting all the good peoples together in the school and backed by Christ University. The intent is very clear, the largest infrastructure, 150,000 square feet, investment more than 75 crores already made only for architecture exclusive, and another 25 crores are going to be in various levels in terms of skilling programs, furniture, fixtures. There is I think that one of the largest university for architecture. If you can see the traditional School of Planning Architecture at Delhi or CEPT, they have been doing it from last 50 years. From last 5 years, if somebody has invested all at one place. Christ University completed the building within 3 years of its inception. That shows their total dedication. A 30, 35 years or 50-year-old school of architecture also will think 10 times to do it. Christ has done it right from the inception. That shows that Christ University is for a longer time. Dedication. Right now, Dr. Anita managed to get the best minds behind the school. There are around 7 PhDs. There are 20 PhD scholars with the school. MR program within the first 5 years. I think all the further to its credit and backed up by all the evaluation from the UGC. That is near ranking within 100. That is 71. 72 being the VTU. VTU is the largest university in technical university, beating VTU and reaching 71 itself. Christ has its name in the private sector, equivalent to one of the best, some of the best universities in the private sector. So the right infrastructure, right human brain, I would say human resource, the right attitude. Christ is global in outlook and local in context. And as the motto goes, service and excellence, I think it is having the right ingredients. Student-centric and all the supportive systems for it. With the passion of Anita, you would have seen last 45 minutes, the way she has shared the vision and the way she has been molding the school. I'm sure the school has a long way and it will make long impression in the profession. Right, the first batch itself, many of our students are entrepreneurs, which is very, very unique. And all the internships are having good payment for their internship and all identified by the good officers. I think all the ingredients required for a good ecosystem is already there. We are welcoming all the parents and the students who are attending. Come, have an informed choice. When you think about your informed choices to make, consider Christ University also.
Yes, I think, thank you for that, Dr. Ajit. I mean, it's definitely very interesting and, to hear your perspective as well. We have Carlos Rodriguez, who is our student from Uttarakhand, who wants to ask a question. And Carlos is, as far as I'm aware of, already taken the admission. So, Carlos, go ahead, ask your question.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Dion. Good evening, the faculty of Christ University. It's lovely to hear about the entire experience, experience of a student at Christ University. And I'm very fortunate, to be honest, to be a part of this ecosystem. So it's an honor to talk to you. My queries were more about the residential life and the student interaction, the community at a residential point of view instead of an academic point of view. So how do you how is it like to be in the hostel? Like how does it work in a residential side of the Christ University at Kangari campus? Thank you.
Yes, Dr. Anita, if you can unmute yourself. Yeah.
So it's an amazing experience or a campus life that you have at Christ. So there are hostels both for boys and girls within the campus, especially for architecture, because otherwise for B Tech, the girls have to stay outside. Only for B Arch girls, there are hostel opportunities within the school. So coming to the hostel facilities, beyond the hostel, we have a gym. So these are, accessible for the students on campus. Then we have various sports facilities. We have very focused trainers who are working on some of the track events as well as for the team events. So for sports facilities, an amazing facilities that are available, also coaching facilities. Beyond which, I must talk about some of the on-spot events like open mic and, these are like suddenly the event comes up and the students get to participate, which gives them a wonderful campus life possibility. I think Christ is also known for a lot of cultural events. As much as we are engaged deeply with the academics, we also have very interesting fests, university fest and intercollegiate fest. So many of these events are kind of helps you to get in touch with other school students and college students, especially from the professional realm. To name one of which is our NASA event. NASA is the National Association of Students of Architect. So we were fortunate for having given the opportunity to host it. So imagine 4,600 architecture students on campus. This was just 2 months back on June 1st to 4th. Am I right, Ajay? He was the faculty coordinator for this event. And you won't
Yeah.
believe it, over five keynote speakers, plus over 20 workshops and over 60 seminars and kind of deliberations by various professionals. It was an amazing national event which Christ has held at Kengeri campus. Coming to the campus, I think due to the paucity of time, I didn't go in depth into that. Kengeri campus is an 80-acre sprawling campus and very optimally used footprints. The buildings are towards one side with a main central park, which is within the center, and we do a lot of water harvesting and rainwater harvesting. So it's been awarded the Green Campus Award by AICTE in 2 years back. So that is the kind of amazing experience in terms of the campus, be it the landscape for that matter, the kind of vegetation, and also the possibilities to have entertainment, cultural events, and also it's an ideal space for a student to get groomed and also to grow. And you're going to make friends with, because this campus over 2,000 students at one point of time. At a point of time. So we have an auditorium facility which is over 2,500 students can gather at a time. So that's, it's endless, and also the satellite cafes which are open all through the day. Whereas we have a non-vegetarian cafe and a vegetarian cafe, which we call it the South Cafe and the North Cafe. We get absolute beautiful cuisine, with the experience which I've got from other institutions. Let me tell you, it's an amazing experience and campus life that you may get it at Christ. You should experience that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
on those lines, I've been to some of the NASA conference, NASA events, and it's a whole lot of action and a whole lot of fun as well. So very interesting to see. Not all colleges host the NASA conferences, but the ones who do, I'm sure, are very proactive. I don't see more questions coming in, and also we have pretty much out of time. We were supposed to end at 6. Um, for those of you all who are considering Christ University, you will find this webinar on the dqlabs YouTube channel. Please click on that webinar link. Go to the dqlabs YouTube channel. You will find this webinar there. In the description of the webinar, the application form, the form to the book, Dr. Anita's contact details, all of it is shared there in the description of the YouTube channel. In case you have missed this webinar out, please, or your friends who missed out on this, please share the link and make sure as many people see this as well. I'm going to share the webinar, the YouTube link in this Zoom messaging. All right, so you all can watch this video again in case you all need to get more clarity. Dr. Anita, Professor Ajay Chandran, thank you all so much for taking the time out to meet with our parents and students and present the school to them. I'm sure that Christ University is a brilliant option for them to consider. Very happy to have both of you all here.
Thank you. Thank you, dear.
Thank you, Dion. Thank you so much, DQ Labs, and thank you all the students. Okay, have a wonderful evening. Thank you.
All right.